All right.
Okay, once again, I'm Sandy Moss with you with another sort of unusual tool, at least unusual in our experience here in the United States. And this is a type of a tool which we use a lot. It's called an adze, A-D-Z-E. And an adze is generally used for smoothing a rough-hewn plank or board, and sometimes for carving with it. This is actually only a partial adze. It's missing the blade, which would have been a metal blade, or if it's a real old one, it would have been a slate blade or something like that. And it would have projected out here and been very sharp. And it would have been bound to the lip on this head of the adze, probably with some kind of hide or maybe a wire winding to hold the adze head in close here. They don't have the head. I've got another one lying around here somewhere that I know came from the Trobriand Islands, which are near New Guinea, out in the far western Pacific, and separating the Pacific from the Indian Ocean in that area. And that has a metal blade and copper windings around it here, very similar to this one, but this one is more ornate. And if we put it down here, and if we can look closely at the end of this handle, you see it's been really nicely carved. It's sort of got geometric figures carved into it, and it's got a scooped out area here. And it almost looks like there's some kind of a face or a head that's been carved into the end of this handle. And it's got little decorations around the back side of it here. I don't know where this came from, but the style of carving suggests that it's some sort of Pacific island. It could have been Fiji, Samoa, maybe even New Zealand, where sometimes the ornamental carving is quite spectacular. And the head of this has sort of a graceful flange to it. It's curved out here. And it has another area of carved decoration up here. But this would have been a blade about this long, and this would be what we call a carving adze. This would have been used to very carefully chip away at some wooden object and gradually work it into some form, probably some sort of ornate kind of form. It's a kind of enhanced piece. It's not very heavy. This is very light wood. And so that's an adze. I have another adze here. And that's this one. This is really a different kind of adze in that it's much more crude than this one. This one is carefully carved and formed and shaped. But this one is basically a stone. It's hard stone. This is probably what we call nephrite. It's got some sort of jade-like material in it, and it's sort of greenish here. It's been polished and chipped to make an edge, but not nearly as the edge would have been on the steel blade on this one. And this adze head is mounted on a handle much shorter, a handle that's been bored through so that hide thong wrappings can be wrapped to hold this stone head onto the handle. This handle is probably Antler, and I know this came from the Arctic. Okay, this came from northern Canada, northern Alaska, and the antler is probably from caribou, which is the large deer found in that area. We know it's antler. If you look at, again, very close, you can see the center of the antler where it's been cut through here has a lot of what looks like pith. It's really where there's a lot of blood vessels that flow into the antler. Antlers in many animals are annual. They have to go through a growing period in just 1 year, and so they need lots of blood coming into the antler to form the new growth which makes the antler. And this one is while this one is very ornately carved, this one is much more simply carved. It has a single line which has been grooved here probably because these people, and this might be 300 or 400 years old, these people didn't have metal before around 1700. They only had metal in the high Arctic in at least Alaska and northern Canada only since the early 1700s, when the first Caucasians from the west came across the Siberian plains to get to the Bering Sea area where this comes from. So the carving was simple. The stone is rough. The hide, which is probably not original, it's probably been replaced, but it's seal skin. They made the hide from seals for these kinds of adze. But again, it's used in the same way that canoe axe is used, or this carving adze would be used to chip away at whatever they were trying to cut. So this is an Arctic or Inuit hand adze, very similar to the form of this carving adze from the Pacific, and very similar, if I had one here to show you, an ordinary carpenter's adze or a cooper's adze like we use in a modern tool world. There's the adze.